Leave America before 2026 and before it's too late. I'm joined here by an American couple, Stephen and Rachel, who just left America. And today we're going to be talking about some of the US biggest issues. And I wanted to start out asking you, Stephen, what's the core issues that you're seeing in the US right now where you would say it isn't really worth it anymore? What's the key issue surrounding the US these days for you?
Well, for me, I'd say the key issue is expenses, and also we seem to be tearing each other apart over anything social, political, monetary issues. The thing is, you're just not getting the bang for your buck that you used to in the U.S. When I came here, especially as someone who is on a pension, it's not going as far as it used to in the U.S. You're struggling even if you have a pension and a job. In our case, we were still struggling. We're very thrifty, and we just couldn't quite to keep our head above water. But here, we penciled it out, and it turns out on a modest pension, you can live basically like middle class, and it's just not achievable in the United States anymore.
So in your point of view, the cost of living or the rising cost of living in America would be the biggest issue for you. Now, what is the main issue surrounding the cost of living in America? Is it housing? Is it food? Is it electricity? Or is it everyday items that you need to buy? What's gotten so expensive? I know that the trade war that's going on with China isn't making it easier. What specifically do you see being cheaper, for instance, here in Paraguay, South America, that's more expensive in Idaho?
Basically, everything that we've seen is at least as expensive or cheaper. Electronics seem to be about the same, but food is much, much cheaper. Transportation is drastically, and housing is very reasonable. It's kind of how it was back in the early 2000s, I'd say, but pretty much I'd say everything is more affordable.
What do you think about the cost of living in America?
Pretty much what Steven said. It's been really eye-opening to see just what we can afford here versus where we are in America. Yeah, it's, having a pension, having a full-time job, we were doing well, but now just living on a pension, it is a struggle. We compare going out to eat here, and it's just a fraction of the cost of what it is in America. We are a family of 5, we have 3 kids, and it makes a really big difference. So it's here we could live much more comfortably. We would have everything we need, and then more if we needed it. It's a lot easier living.
We've done a lot of interviews recently with Americans and Canadians that complained about the immigration situation in North America. What's your take on this? Has immigration affected your decision? Has it had any impact on you coming here or not at all?
It has, and that's issue is close behind the monetary issue. We live in rural America, and so it hasn't quite affected us as much as it has maybe in the cities, but the spillover is starting to reach us more and more. You have a lot more, if you have to go to a larger town or city for supplies or whatever you may need, you can feel it. You can feel the tension. People there, they all kind of have a chip on their shoulder, and you start to wonder whether you're going to have to deal with it when you go into an establishment or something and you're outnumbered. There's a definite tension. But here, if you walk around, they're just people. They're not so much. They're not looking at you like you're something different necessarily. I'm tall and I have green eyes, and so I don't blend in well here. But it's certainly not a problem. I came here thinking, about my standing out. It may become a problem, but these people don't think it's a problem. They don't seem to really notice it hardly at all, and I really like that. After spending a little bit of time here, there's a certain kind of peace that I haven't felt in a long time.
Leaving America with a family is obviously a serious decision, because you're not just making the decision for yourself, but also for your children. And you guys are very young children, right? And so oftentimes people think twice before leaving America, because you do lose access to a lot, So now you applied for your residency here. You haven't really moved here permanently yet, but you applied for your residency as a Plan B option, right? Do you think America is still a good place to raise your children?
I think it depends a lot on where you are in America at this point. Even us in rural, small town America, we're not immune to everything that's going on across the country. We still see the effects of it. It might happen, it might trickle down a little slower and take some time, but we do see it. Like you said, we have 3 young kids, and there are times where I don't want to take them to town with me because I'm going to certain parts of town or places that, I want to protect their innocence for as long as I can in a country that is trying to take it away so young and so early. And so I don't see it being somewhere I would want to raise my kids, long term. Just the trajectory that I'm seeing now, it doesn't matter who is in charge, what your beliefs are. I mean, everybody's affected across the board by everything. And I can only protect my kids for so long, they're growing up. So I think long term, no, it's not really where I want to see my family, permanently. I need something else for them. Yeah.
Are you happy with raising your kids in America?
There's more problems than not raising your kids in America right now. They're under constant bombardment. If you turn on a kid's television show, they're being influenced and politically and socially. If you take them to town, they're being bombarded. Make no mistake, our kids are under attack in America. And the powers that be are trying to influence them in ways that are fairly insidious, in my opinion. And like you say, the trajectory of the U.S. and practically the Northern Hemisphere right now is not a good one. The trajectory is not good at all. And it's hard to fight a trend. You can, and we have fought the trend before, but it's not working. It's not effective. So rather than keep fighting the trend and having the trend run you over, it's good to have a plan B, a backup. If not for me, I could stand and fight it out or whatever you want to say, but these are my kids and they're little, and it's not something that I want for them.
Now, you're from a very conservative state, right?
Right.
Idaho, right?
Yep.
So it's not like California. Like, people are very concerned about traveling outside America. It's unsafe. There's a lot to worry about. What are your first-hand experiences traveling from the U.S. to, I think you traveled from the U.S. to Panama and then from Panama down to South America?
Did, Santiago, Chile.
Okay. Did you ever feel like you were in danger? Did you feel uncomfortable? What was your experience like?
I would say we had overall a pretty good experience. We did have a layover in Atlanta, and that was the worst experience out of the whole thing. It was kind of highlighting the differences again between the U.S. and here in Paraguay. It was just a total night and day difference in how we were treated, how others around us were treated, from flight attendants and other staff in the airport, that kind of thing. Chile was wonderful. We ended up staying overnight in Chile at the hotel there, and everybody was just wonderful there. We had a really great time. I would say, just to add to that, we went back and forth on if we wanted to bring our kids. This was their first time on a plane at all, and we just jumped in and said, let's go international. And they did great. The kids have been great. I haven't had any worries bringing them internationally through, whether it was Chile or here in Paraguay. It's all just been great. Everybody's been really helpful, really friendly. Even with the kids, they take the time to talk to the kids, and it's all been great, I think. And I just want to add, so that was one thing my mom telling her we're going to take the kids to South America. She really worried, so she joined us for the first week.
Oh, wow.
But she ended up really loving it, and I think that helped her too, to see it for herself and experience it. She actually really enjoyed it and loves it and wants to come back.
Wow, she'll be back.
For us, weighing the pros and cons was absolutely a pro to come abroad, but it depends on you and your situation. Or our situation, we have little kids, and we absolutely believe that it's a positive to go somewhere where they're safer, they're more respected, parental rights are more respected. But the experience coming down here. See, when we were in Atlanta, we processed through, and it was a horrific experience. Actually, it was, by the time you get out the other end, after they're yelling at everybody, they're pushing you through, you just feel like cattle. And by the time you get out the other end, you've been branded and whatever else, and I didn't like it. When we got to South America, the experience was absolutely different. Down here, there's signs that say that pregnant women and family take priority. You know, they're taken care of. It's a very family-oriented atmosphere. And I was so happy to get out of Atlanta, and I started to feel like I just wanted the trip to be over. But then we got to Santiago, and it was there. I was nervous to be in a different place, but that was all me. They were absolutely welcoming, and we got on the plane. My son turned 4 that day, and the stewardesses brought him a donut and wished him happy birthday. Nobody had ever done that before on a plane that I had ever seen before, and I've flown a lot. And then when we got here, again, you know, families take priority. You know, it's a very, very different atmosphere. So where families are almost punished in the U.S., or I would say actually punished in the U.S., they're not here. It's a family environment, and it feels good to be here.
Any final thoughts you would like to add, Rachel?
Yeah, so like we've, been talking about, just the environment, the atmosphere here is very different. I would say in the US, there's no unity there. It's all about, diversity, and you almost have to pick a side no matter what you're doing. You could just be shopping in the grocery store, but you feel like people are looking at you and saying, "Oh, well, they're wearing that. They must believe this," or they talk like this, they must believe that, on either side, and it just feels very divisive, and that it's become a part of your identity rather than just who you are. What you believe is the most important, it seems, even if it has nothing to do with why I'm grocery shopping. And it's been nice to get away from that for the last 2 weeks, where, what I believe and what I think and what I identify as or whatever isn't the most important thing about me. Like, there's more to me than that. And it's been really nice.
Okay. I appreciate your time, your input, and I hope you enjoy your time in South America. If you guys are interested in relocating from the US and leaving the US before 2026, please book a consultation with me. Go to nomadelite.com. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your attendance, and I look forward to welcoming you to South America as well.